Every day, we forget little things, where we left the keys, what we had for lunch. But when an elderly loved one begins forgetting important conversations, getting lost in familiar places, or repeating questions over and over, it's not just aging. It could be the early signs of something far more serious: dementia. Dementia affects over 55 million people worldwide, and according to the World Health Organization, one new case is diagnosed every 3 seconds. But here's the scariest part: most families miss the early signs until it's too late. That's why in this video, I'm going to show you 5 critical signs elderly people show just weeks before they start losing their memory. These signs are often subtle, but spotting them early can mean the difference between slowing down dementia or watching it take over. So stick with me till the end, and you'll learn exactly what to look for, what steps to take, and how you can help your loved one before it's too late. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps me bring you more life-saving content like this. Now let's dive in. Number 1 sign: frequent forgetfulness. Let me tell you something that many people over 70 have noticed in themselves or a loved one, and maybe, just maybe, it's happening to you too. It's called frequent forgetfulness. This is more than just misplacing your glasses or forgetting where you parked the car. This is when you begin to forget entire conversations you had just this morning, or you miss appointments you were looking forward to all week. You might suddenly pause while talking and wonder, what was I about to say? Or struggle to remember the name of your niece, who's been visiting you for years. Now, that might feel embarrassing or frustrating, but I want you to know, it's not your fault. And you're not alone. This kind of forgetfulness is often one of the early signs, one of the quiet knockings at the door, that your brain is beginning to lose its rhythm. And if we ignore it, that knocking gets louder. Why does it happen? Sometimes it's the medications we take, too many, mixed together, or ones with side effects no one warned us about. Sometimes it's not sleeping well, or eating less because our appetite has changed. Isolation, yes, being alone too much, can do more harm to the mind than people realize. Our brains are like muscles, they need stimulation, connection, and movement. When that stops, things start to slip. Now here's the hard truth: when this kind of forgetfulness is brushed off or blamed on just old age, it can lead to confusion, emotional withdrawal, or even total dependence on others. The hippocampus, the part of your brain that stores memory, can begin to shrink. And as that happens, not only memory, but decision-making, orientation, and independence start to fade. You may even begin to forget your own story, who you are, where you are, or who's in the room with you. But here's the part no one tells you: there is something you can do. And it doesn't require expensive doctors or complicated machines. Start simple. Keep a little notebook next to your bed or your favorite chair. Each morning, jot down 3 things: what day it is, something you're grateful for, and what you plan to do that day. Talk to someone, yes, even if it's just a call to your neighbor or a video chat with your grandchild. Try puzzles, music, even singing aloud. Movement helps too, a 10-minute walk, even around the garden or the hallway. Every one of these actions wakes the brain up and tells it, I'm still here, and I'm still working. Let me share the story of 2 dear souls, Agnes, age 72, and Thomas, age 87. Agnes noticed her forgetfulness early. She was missing her medication times, asking her daughter the same question 3 times in one afternoon. But instead of hiding it, she spoke up. She got a little pill box, wrote everything down in a diary, and started walking with her neighbor every evening. 3 weeks later, Agnes was sharper, more cheerful, and even remembered her grandson's birthday without a reminder. Thomas, on the other hand, laughed it off. I'm just getting old, he'd say. He stopped reading the newspaper, forgot to eat meals, and didn't want to leave the house. He grew frustrated, often confused, and eventually, he couldn't remember his way back from the store he'd shopped at for 40 years. When his daughter tried to help, he said, "What's the point? My memory's already gone." But Thomas isn't beyond hope. And if you're feeling like him, you aren't either. It's never too late to start small. A walk. A conversation. A notebook. Even simply labeling drawers and cupboards can restore a bit of confidence and rhythm to your daily life. You see, recognizing the sign early, this frequent forgetfulness, isn't a curse. It's a gift. A warning flare. Your brain is saying, "Help me before I get worse." And when you listen, when you take action, you can slow it all down. You can hold on to your independence, your story, your dignity. So don't be afraid. Be curious. Be brave. Small changes, done every day, can light a path through even the foggiest of minds. Sign 2. Difficulty with routine tasks. There's something deeply unsettling when everyday activities, things you've done all your life without a second thought, suddenly become confusing or difficult. Simple tasks like making a cup of tea, managing your medication, preparing a familiar meal, or even paying a routine bill start to feel overwhelming. If you find yourself getting stuck in the middle of a task, unsure of the next step, or forgetting why you started it in the first place, this is not just old age catching up. This could be a sign that your brain is beginning to struggle with memory processing, often one of the earliest indicators of dementia. You see, when the brain begins to experience early signs of decline, it can interfere with the part responsible for organization, sequencing, and decision-making. This means everyday routines, like brushing your teeth, locking the door, or following a recipe you've used for decades, can feel confusing. It's not your fault. It's how memory loss works. It sneaks up, making familiar tasks feel foreign. But what triggers this change? Often, it's a combination of things. Poor sleep is a big one. Your brain needs rest to process and store memories. Medication side effects are another major culprit. Some prescriptions that treat anxiety, insomnia, or even high blood pressure can make your brain foggy. A lack of mental stimulation, when you're not engaging with people, puzzles, reading, or creative hobbies, can allow cognitive functions to slow down. And something as simple as a lack of physical activity can reduce blood flow to the brain, making you feel mentally dull and tired. Then there's nutrition. If you're not getting enough of the right nutrients, especially B vitamins, iron, and omega-3s, your brain might not be functioning at its best. Add on stress, isolation, and sadness, and the picture becomes clear. These factors work together and silently steal our clarity and function if left unaddressed. Now, let's talk about what happens when this sign is ignored. Without intervention, difficulty with routine tasks can quickly snowball. You might start to feel embarrassed, so you hide it. You might forget to take your medications, leading to other health issues. You may avoid cooking or cleaning, putting your safety and hygiene at risk. Over time, this can lead to frustration, accidents, and eventually the loss of your independence. The part of the brain affected is the frontal lobe, responsible for planning and coordination. When this breaks down, so does your ability to live on your own terms. But here's the good news: you can fight back. You can strengthen your memory and clarity, even if you're already struggling. Start by breaking down complex tasks into smaller, manageable steps. Use checklists or sticky notes in visible places to remind yourself what to do and in what order. Create a predictable daily routine. Wake up at the same time, eat meals on schedule, and do small tasks in the same sequence each day. This helps your brain recognize patterns and remember them more easily. You can also use tools that make life easier, like a weekly pill box for your medications, setting alarms for reminders, or labeling cabinets and drawers. If you enjoy cooking but forget the steps, ask a grandchild to help and make it a fun shared activity. Try brain games on a tablet or phone, or even just simple board games with family. These things don't feel like therapy, but they are. They keep your brain active and your heart connected to the people around you. Let me tell you about two people, Mr. Mike, 72, and Mrs. Helen, 87. Mr. Mike noticed that he was getting lost in the middle of cooking breakfast. One day he left the stove on after forgetting he had eggs boiling. He realized something was wrong. So he began making changes. He wrote out his morning routine and posted it on the fridge. He started using a calendar and began doing a 15-minute brain puzzle every morning with his coffee. After a few weeks, Thomas felt sharper. He was no longer confused during tasks. and most importantly, he felt confident again. His family even noticed he was more present and cheerful during visits. Mrs. Helen, on the other hand, had been misplacing her checkbook and forgetting if she had taken her medication. She laughed it off at first. "I'm just getting older," she'd say. But soon, her electricity bill went unpaid, her medication routine fell apart, and she began skipping meals. She became withdrawn and anxious. Her daughter had to step in when she nearly overdosed by forgetting she'd already taken her pills. Helen didn't know there were simple solutions available to her. But it's not too late for Helen. Just like Thomas, she can start small. Labeling her pill bottles, setting daily alarms, and writing to-do lists will bring structure back into her day. With help from her daughter, she can slowly rebuild her routines, restore her safety, and regain her peace of mind. So if you or someone you love is having trouble doing what once came naturally, don't ignore it. It's not just being forgetful. It's your brain asking for help. And help is here. You don't have to fear this journey. With early awareness and small, thoughtful changes, you can keep living with dignity, purpose, and clarity. Every step you take today adds more strength to your tomorrow. You are not powerless. You are just getting started on taking control. In the next section, we'll discuss another subtle but powerful early sign of memory loss, and how to recognize it before it takes root. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps me bring you more life-saving content like this. Sign 3. Getting lost in familiar places. Imagine this: you step out of your front door, a place you've lived in for years, heading to the grocery store just 2 blocks away. But midway, you stop, confused. You can't remember which direction the store is. The street looks familiar, but something feels off. You begin to feel anxious. You look around but don't know where to go next. This experience, especially if it happens more than once, is not just a momentary lapse. It could be an early sign of memory loss, and more importantly, a warning sign of dementia. Getting lost in familiar places, your neighborhood, your church, your best friend's home, is not a normal part of aging. It's something that should raise concern, especially if it's happening suddenly and repeatedly. It signals that your brain's internal mapping system, the part that helps you recognize space and direction, is becoming weaker. In medical terms, this is linked to early disruption in the hippocampus, the area of the brain responsible for navigation and memory. So what causes this to begin with? Sometimes it's subtle. You might be taking medications that make you drowsy or confused. You might be sleeping poorly at night, which affects how your brain processes and stores information. A lack of stimulation, staying indoors for days, not socializing, or not engaging your brain, can also lead to disorientation. And then there's stress or even untreated depression, which can fog your thinking and make it harder to stay focused or alert. Even poor diet, dehydration, or vitamin deficiencies, like low B12, can leave your mind in a haze. But here's the danger in brushing this off: if you get lost once, it might seem harmless. But if it happens again, especially in a place you should know by heart, it can become dangerous. You may become frightened, lose confidence, or avoid going out altogether. You might stop attending church, visiting loved ones, or walking your usual route, simply because you're afraid you'll lose your way. And that leads to isolation, and isolation speeds up memory loss. Slowly, your world becomes smaller. You depend more and more on others, and feel less in control of your own life. But the good news is, there's something you can do. Start by creating routine walking paths and practicing them daily. Walk with a friend, a neighbor, or a caregiver. Carry a small notebook or card with directions and emergency contacts. Use simple memory games to strengthen your brain's mapping ability. Look at old photo albums and maps of your area, and practice describing routes out loud. Place landmarks in your mind: the grocery store is past the red mailbox and the flower shop. These small exercises train your brain to stay sharp and grounded. Let's take 2 examples. Ethel, 72, started noticing she was getting turned around at the local pharmacy. She took it seriously. She began walking with her niece every morning, tracing familiar paths and talking about the landmarks they passed. She used a small GPS tracker her daughter bought and even kept a handwritten memory map at home. A few weeks later, Ethel felt more confident, less anxious, and didn't need help finding her way. Then there's George, 87, who got confused while walking to his barber, a place he's gone to for 30 years. He blamed it on being tired. He brushed it off, stayed indoors, and stopped going out unless someone drove him. Over the weeks, George became more withdrawn. He forgot other things too, what day it was, where he placed his keys. He didn't want visitors anymore. His memory declined faster, and he began needing daily supervision. Now, if you're feeling like George, scared, unsure, even a little embarrassed, it's okay. What you can do now is start small. Talk to a family member. Begin with 10-minute walks, write down directions, and look around more purposefully when you go out. Use your phone or a smartwatch to keep track of where you are. Speak to your doctor about medications or supplements that support brain health. It's never too late to take back control of your memory. Remember, catching this sign early can truly change the outcome. Just like muscles, your brain needs exercise. With a bit of help, structure, and support, you can still live with independence, dignity, and confidence. And if you're a family member listening, your encouragement, your presence, your patience, makes all the difference. We're not here to fear the signs. We're here to recognize them, act early, and grow stronger together. Stay with us. In the next section, we'll talk about another early sign you should never ignore, and what you can do right away to protect your mind. Sign 4. Confusion with time and dates. There's something deeply unsettling about waking up and not being sure what day it is. You look at the calendar, but it doesn't seem to mean anything. Was it Sunday? Wednesday? Did you already go to church this week, or was that last week? You check the time and feel like hours have passed, but it's only been 15 minutes. When these kinds of lapses start happening more often, it's not just about getting older. It can be an early sign that your memory is being affected in a more serious way. Confusion with time and dates is one of the earliest, and often most overlooked, signs of dementia. It sneaks in gently. You might miss an appointment, forget what month we're in, or think a deceased loved one is still alive. These are not simply harmless slips. They signal that your brain's ability to track time and sequence, something controlled by the prefrontal cortex and hippocampus, is starting to decline. These regions help us form new memories and understand the flow of time. When they begin to misfire, the world starts to feel jumbled. Now, why does this happen in the first place? It can begin with poor sleep. When your brain doesn't rest well at night, it struggles to process new memories during the day. Certain medications for blood pressure, depression, or pain might also cause fogginess or disorientation. Emotional stress, loneliness, or lack of daily structure can also confuse your inner clock. If you no longer have a fixed schedule, like working or attending community events, it becomes easier for your days to blend together. But the real danger lies in ignoring it. If left unaddressed, this confusion can spiral. You might forget when to take your medication, or take it twice. You might miss meals, feel hungry but not know why, or forget to hydrate. You may start calling your daughter in the middle of the night thinking it's morning. And slowly, your independence begins to fade. This kind of confusion also leads to anxiety, mistrust, and isolation, because nothing feels certain anymore. It puts strain on family, caregivers, and most of all, your own peace of mind. So what can you do? It starts with reintroducing structure into your life in a simple, non-overwhelming way. Use a large digital calendar with visible dates and times in your bedroom or kitchen. Set daily alarms on your phone for meals, medications, or activities. Create a morning ritual, open the curtains, say the date out loud, drink water, take a walk, check the news headlines. Keep a written planner or a today journal where you jot down the day's plan in big, clear handwriting. Even playing card games, doing puzzles, or chatting about the news each morning can anchor your brain to the present. Let me tell you about Agnes, who is 72. She noticed she was losing track of what day it was and once missed her grandson's birthday party. She felt embarrassed and scared. But instead of hiding it, she took action. She started using a talking clock that announces the time and day each hour. Her granddaughter set up a whiteboard with the day's agenda and meals written out in the kitchen. Every evening, Agnes writes a short entry in her diary, just a sentence or two about her day. Within weeks, she felt more grounded, less anxious, and more in control of her life. Now let's look at Harold, 87. A retired mechanic, he began confusing day and night. He'd wake up at 3 a.m. and think it was time for breakfast. He forgot family visits and started skipping meals. But Harold didn't tell anyone. He figured it was just old age. Over time, the confusion deepened. He once went out looking for his old workplace, which had closed 15 years ago. He became frustrated, suspicious, and withdrawn. His daughter eventually stepped in, but by then Harold needed full-time help. If you're like Harold, it's not too late. Start now. Ask for help organizing your week. Create visual reminders around your home. Let technology support you. Smart speakers, calendar apps, or even good old-fashioned sticky notes can make a big difference. Talk to your doctor about your medications and sleep. And most of all, be kind to yourself. Confusion is a sign, not a sentence. It's your brain asking for a little more support. You are not alone in this. There is strength in admitting what's changing and courage in doing something about it. Early awareness and a few consistent routines can slow the fog and bring clarity back into your day. Keep listening. There are more signs you need to know, and more ways to take your memory into your own hands. Sign 5. Struggling with communication. You know that feeling, when a word is right there on the tip of your tongue, but no matter how hard you try, you just can't bring it out. Or when you're in the middle of a conversation and suddenly lose your train of thought. Maybe you start repeating yourself, or you find it difficult to follow what others are saying, especially if several people are talking at once. These are more than just little slips. When this becomes a pattern, when words begin slipping away more often, when conversations start feeling like a struggle, it may be an early sign that something deeper is going on with your memory and your brain. Struggling with communication is not simply about forgetting a few words now and then. It's about the brain finding it harder to connect ideas, form sentences, or follow conversations. This difficulty often starts subtly. You might pause mid-sentence more often, use general words like that thing instead of specific names, or find yourself withdrawing from conversations to avoid embarrassment. These changes are red flags, early warning signs of dementia. Now, what usually triggers this? A number of things can lead to this communication breakdown. Medical factors such as medication side effects, thyroid problems, or even minor strokes can silently affect brain function. Sleep disturbances rob the brain of the rest it needs to organize and retain language. Social isolation, too, plays a big part. When we stop engaging with others, when there are fewer chats, fewer laughs, fewer shared stories, our language muscles start to weaken, just like physical muscles that aren't being used. And let's not forget poor nutrition. A lack of nutrients like B vitamins or omega-3s can affect how well brain cells communicate with one another. But here's where things become dangerous. If this sign is ignored, it can lead to deep frustration. You might stop speaking up in family conversations, avoid phone calls, or lose interest in social gatherings. Slowly, isolation creeps in. And with isolation, your brain is no longer being challenged, no longer stimulated. The parts of the brain responsible for language, the temporal and frontal lobes, begin to shrink. Confusion follows, and then emotional withdrawal. Many elders fall into depression at this stage, and that only accelerates memory loss. But don't lose heart. There are things you can do, simple things, to keep your brain talking. Talk daily. Yes, even to yourself. Narrate what you're doing as you cook, clean, or garden. Read aloud from a book or newspaper. Play word games or try a crossword puzzle. Call a grandchild and ask them about their day. Tell them a story from your youth. If you're someone of faith, recite scriptures or sing familiar hymns. Write in a journal, even if it's just a few sentences each day. These small daily acts exercise your mind and help keep your words flowing. Let's look at 2 examples. Clara, age 72, noticed she was starting to mix up names and pause often in conversations. Instead of hiding, she spoke to her daughter. Together, they began a daily routine, reading out loud every morning for 10 minutes and having short chats about the day's news. Clara also started writing. Now that you've learned the 5 signs elderly people show just weeks before memory loss begins, I hope you understand this. Dementia doesn't usually begin with a sudden blank slate. It starts quietly, with little changes. A missed appointment here, confusion in a familiar place there, or a slow retreat from social activities. These signs might seem harmless at first, but they are often the brain's gentle whispers before the storm. Catching them early gives you power. Power to slow the decline. Power to adapt. Power to live fully, even in the face of change. Whether you're 70, 80, or a concerned loved one, the key is to stay alert, stay connected, and stay proactive. If this video helped open your eyes or gave you something valuable to think about, please like, share, and comment below. Let me know which sign you've noticed, either in yourself or someone you care about. And don't forget to subscribe. Your support truly helps me keep creating thoughtful, research-based content that empowers you and your family to face aging with knowledge, strength, and hope. Together, we can protect our minds, one step, one story, and one sign at a time.